Okay, our learning target for this afternoon, that is to find zeros or roots of a polynomial by using the rational root theorem. Okay, let's have a review first on the factor theorem. So the factor theorem states that for a polynomial f of x, x minus a is a factor if and only if f of a is equal to 0. Meaning, if you are going to have a divisor of x minus a, it is a factor of the polynomial f of x if the remainder is 0. Take note of that, because we will be using this concept in finding the roots or the zeros of a polynomial. Now, we will be having the word solution. It refers to the roots. And it's the same as saying zeros of polynomial functions. When I talk about zeros, R is a zero of a function if the remainder again is 0. And also, zeros of functions are the x values of the points where the graph of the function intersects or crosses the x-axis. So for example, if this will be my graph over here, and this will be the graph of my function, ni intersects sa x-axis, ni intersects sa x-axis, ni intersects sa x-axis. These 3 points are called zeros, okay? The x-intercepts again is what you call the zeros of your polynomial, if you're having this graph. But don't worry, the graphing part, we will have a session on that. For now, we will focus on the solving part, okay? So for now, we will be focusing on the solving part, that is using synthetic division. Okay, let's have a review example. But this time, I'm gonna introduce roots or zeros to the problem. So last time, we have started with you are given a function, a polynomial function. And then you will be checking whether this x minus 4 is a factor of that function. So, sige, buhaton na ako ani section piece. How do we check whether this is a factor or not a factor? Section piece. Unsay buhaton na ako ani section piece.
Mag-synthetic division.
That's totally right. Mag-synthetic division ko. Now, what is the value of A when the divisor is x minus 4?
4, sir.
Positive 4. Okay, unsay buhaton nako sunod?
Ikuha ang mga coefficients, sir.
Right, that's totally right. Isuwat ang mga and what are the coefficients here?
1, negative 5, positive 2, and positive 8.
That's totally right. 1, negative 5, positive 2, and positive 8. Okay, let's do synthetic division now. Bring down 1. After bringing down 1, what should I do next?
The value of A times the first coefficient, sir.
So we have multiply this, 4 and 2. That will be 4 and 1, I mean, to get 4. And then you combine, how much do we get?
Negative 1.
Negative 1. Then multiply again to get negative 4.
Negative 4.
Then you combine,
Negative 2.
negative 2. Multiply again.
Negative 8.
Negative 8, and the remainder is 0. What do you mean? What does it imply? What if the remainder is 0?
So x minus 4 is a factor of x cubed minus 5x squared plus 2x plus 8, sir.
Okay, I agree with that. Therefore, if your remainder is 0, therefore, this one, your divisor x minus 4, which I use in my synthetic division, is a factor of your polynomial function. Now, let us find the other factors as well. Oh, what are you going to do with this?
Find the IC3.
Yes, what are you going to do with 1, negative 1, and negative 2?
x squared
Okay, x squared. Write it as an expression. That's good. X squared
minus
Minus
x
X.
minus x
Minus 2.
minus 2
minus 2. And what are you gonna do with x squared minus x minus 2?
factor.
Factor na to. Factoring. Okay. If I'm gonna be factoring this, you are given minus and minus. What will be the sign of your factors?
Positive, negative.
Positive, negative is right. So write x here and x here. What are factors of 2 when subtracted? It will give us 1.
2 and 1.
2 and 1. Which will be negative, by the way?
Negative 2.
Negative 2, positive 1. I agree with that. Now, let's write the factors then. What are the factors here?
X minus
X minus 4.
X minus 4, which was our given.
X plus 1.
X plus 1.
X minus
and
2.
X minus 2, which we have solved when we did factoring a while ago. And what are... excuse me, my allergies is tukar. What are the roots or the zeros here? It's so simple. Focus on each factor. You get the opposite for each factor. We will be using braces for this case because this is a solution set. So for x minus 4, what is the opposite of negative 4?
positive 4, sir.
Positive 4. For x plus 1,
Negative.
negative 1. For x minus 2,
Negative, positive 2.
positive 2. So therefore, that is how to get the roots. The roots came from the factors. And take note, sir, kani din gigamit nato sa synthetic, sir, kining 4. This is a root. Yes, it is a root if you will get a 0 remainder. But if you will not get a 0 remainder, then that is not a root at all. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Okay, let's have another example. This one. You have there x cubed minus 7x plus 6, and you are not given a factor. Instead, you are given one of the zeros or roots. So take note, this is a root or a 0. How do you write this root as a factor? How do you write negative 3, which is a root? You write it as a factor. How do you go about it? Baliktad. Change ang sign. What a good. Kung hatagan ko root, ani, ang factor ana, sir, x minus 4, kay opposite sa positive 4 minus 4. Kini, sir, negative 1, so x plus 1. Kining 2, sir, the x minus 2, sir. So, going back to our problem over here, so how do you write negative 3 as a factor now?
X plus 3.
X plus 3 will be the factored form of the root minus 3 or negative 3. Okay? Now, let's do synthetic division. What are you gonna write over here?
Negative 3, sir.
Negative 3. Of course, you will be writing the root. You will be writing the root. Do not get the opposite of the root. The root is already the value of a. Now, let's write the coefficients. What are the coefficients of x cubed minus 7x plus 6?
1.
1.
Negative 7 and positive 6.
Again. 1.
1, 0.
0. Don't forget the missing term. It's very, very important. Why is this why is there a 0?
Kaya wala may x squared.
Okay, very good. Sir, x squared is missing. So you need to put 0 there. Let's do synthetic now. Bring down 1. Multiply negative 3 and 1. That's negative 3. Combining the two, you'll get negative 3. Multiply, that's 9. Combining that, that's 2. Multiply, that's negative 6. And you will get a 0 remainder. So therefore, this really is a root of this function. Okay? Now, let's get the other factors now. How do we get the other factors, by the way?
X squared.
X squared ang una, human.
Minus 3x.
Minus 3x. plus
Plus
2.
2.
Okay. And then, what are the signs of your factors?
Negative,
Negative,
negative.
negative.
Negative, negative. Okay, what are factors of 2 when added? It will be equal to the middle term 3.
2 and
1 and
1.
2, sir.
2 and 1 or 1 and 2. I'll be writing 2 and 1 or 1 or 2. It's the same. So what are our factors now?
X plus 3, sir.
X plus 3,
minus 2, and X minus 1.
X minus 2, and X minus 1. So we have X plus 3, check. X minus 2, check. X minus 1, check. And what are the zeros or the roots of your function?
Negative 3.
Negative 3, positive 2,
Positive 1.
positive 1. And that's how you get the factors and the roots of your function. Now, sir, what if you are not given a root or a factor? You will be the one to get the root and the factor. So how do you go about it? Here comes the rational root theorem now. Suppose that a polynomial equation with integral coefficients has a root of p over q. Take note, this will be the possible factors. That's p over q. Okay? Then, take note, p here refers to the factor of the constant term. So, you focus on the constant term, meaning the last term, the term without any variable, you factor it out. Maunay p na ko. Ang q po diri is the highest, the coefficient of the highest degree term. Meaning, katong first term na ko, ang coefficient sa first term, i-factor na nako, mao na si q. Let's apply that in our first example para mas masabtan og maayo. Again, si p constant term. Si q first term coefficient. Let's have this one. What is the value of p?
Negative 2, sir.
Negative 2. So, kining negative 2, diri ko magkuha sa mga values sa p nako. What about the value of q?
4x.
4. Number lang, coefficient lang. The number 4. Okay. What are factors start ni p? What are factors of 2? What are factors of 2?
2 and 1.
2 and 1. 2 and 1. Or I can write it as positive negative 1, positive negative 2. Sir, why is there a positive negative? Because it's possible that I'm gonna divide this by negative 1 or positive 1. Kinisang 2, divisible man sa nag-positive 2 ug negative 2. So I'll be writing both positive and negative. Possible na saya. What about factors of q, which is 4?
2
2
and
and
2.
4.
1, 2, and 4.
4.
1, 2, and 4. That's totally right. 1, 2, and 4. And then, I can write it again as positive negative 1, positive negative 2, positive negative 4. Okay? Let's go to our possible possible roots now. To get the possible roots, it's so simple. Katong formula nga akong gipakita ganiha, p over q mo gamiton. Kanang mga p nato mo ni values direct kining 1 ug si 2. Ang q na ko mo na si 1, si 2 ug si 4. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with 1 over parisa na nako sa q. So kining 1, 2 ug 4 i-denominator na nako tagsa-tagsa ni 1. So 1 over 1, we have 1 over 2, we have 1 over 4. Again, 1 over 1, 1 over 2, 1 over 4. Kakuha sa concept?
Yes, sir.
Then,
Yes, sir.
do the same thing with the number 2. 2 over 1.
2 over 2, 2 over 4.
That's totally right. 2 over 2 and 2 over 4. Now, let's reduce these fractions. What is 1 over 1 equal to?
1.
1.
1, sir.
1/2, that's still the same. It's still 1/2. 1/4, that is still the same. What about 2/1?
2.
2. That's right. What about 2/2?
1, sir.
1. What about 2/4?
1/2.
1/2. Now, let's determine the possible roots now. Let's start with the smallest integer there. What's the smallest integer?
1.
1. Sir, duha man na ka 1. Right, 1 kaisa lang. If na nagbalik-balik, dapat kausara dyan na sa isuwat sa mga rational roots nato nga possible. Next to positive, negative 1. What's the next integer there? 2. When I say integers, dili siya fraction. So I have positive, negative 2. Are there integers nga nahibilin? Wala na. So I will start with the integers first para dili ta maglibog later sa atong solution. Next, pwede ra magbali ang 1/2 o 1/4. So I'll start with positive, negative 1/2 followed by positive, negative 1/4. So kining 1/2 kausawog suwat and followed by 1/4. So kini siya class, kini siyang upat ka numbers diri nya positive, negative. These are the possible roots nato later. Unya, pwede mag-start ko sa positive 1, nya negative 1, positive 2, negative 2. So inig synthetic nato atong focus ang integers. Focus on the integers. And my technique is this. I use the smallest positive integer first. What is the smallest positive integer there? Mo na starting na ako sa synthetic. Positive 1. Kung dili ko kakuhag 0 ig synthetic ani, ang isunod na ako si negative 1. Di gihapon ko kakuhag 0 ig synthetic, ani ko positive 2, sunod negative 2 until I will get a 0 sa synthetic. So mo ni purpose nganong naglista ko kay para I will have a guide on which roots akong suwayan nga makakuha og 0. Kay dili man kini silang tanan makakuha og 0. These are just possible roots. Maon ni naa diri makita na ng answer later on. Okay, let's have synthetic now. What are your coefficients? Look at the given. 4,
Negative 3.
negative 3,
Negative
Negative 9 and negative 2.
and negative 2. That's totally right. Let's do synthetic. Bring down 4. Multiply 1 and 4. Combine, that's 1. Multiply 1 and 1, that's 1. Combine, that's negative 8. Multiply, that's negative 8. Were you able to get a 0?
No, sir.
No. Therefore, I cannot use this as a root for our function. So, unsay buhaton nako? Suwayan nako ang unsay sunod?
2, sir.
Unsay sunod sa positive 1?
2, sir.
Oh, wala pa gid na nakasuway ni negative 1. 'Di ba? Napamantay negative 1. Lahi man ni siya kay positive 1 man na. So I'm gonna try negative 1. Now, ang technique manggod na ko ani class, unahon na kong mga gagmay nga numbers. Kay para magkasaka ko later on. Okay? So I'm gonna still use the coefficients for negative 3. But you can have 2 there. Why problema na ako if you're gonna have 2? As long as, if dili pwede si 2, you have negative 1. Then di pwede si negative 1, you have negative 2. Then, let's do synthetic for negative 1. Let's do synthetic for negative 1. Bring down 4. Let's multiply. We'll get negative 4. You add, that's negative 7. This is 7. You have negative 2. This is 2, and we have a 0 now. So, take note. We have our first root. And what is our first root? It's negative 1. How do you write negative 1 as a factor?
X plus 1, sir.
Let's write it here. X plus 1. So, take note na natay factor x plus 1. What are you gonna do with 4, negative 7, and negative 2? So, may buhaton na ko ani sunod class. Manakog synthetic niya. Tulon na kabuk na hibilin. Di ba I told you last time? Kung tulon na lang kabuk na hibilin, if tulon na lang kabuk na hibilin nga numbers, we will do what? We will do Usa may sunod buhaton na ako ani basta tulo na lang ka numbers ang nahibit. Yes, go on.
4x squared.
4x squared. Correct. 4x squared
Negative
minus 7x
minus 2. Minus 2.
for a while. Minus 2. Do you hear me, by the way?
Yes, sir.
Okay, there's namang ako ang pag-umangkon diri sa akong tupad, nagsige kiat-kiat, nangatagak akong mga gadgets, that's why. You tell me ha if ever na off akong volume para I'm gonna check it. Okay, now let's continue. Do you still remember how to factor out 4x squared minus 7x minus 2?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Unsa gibuhaton na ko ani class? We will have 4x 4x
Over 4x.
over 4 or over 4x?
Over 4.
Over 4. Now, what will be the sign? What will be the sign?
Positive, negative.
Positive, negative. O say buhaton sunod.
Ang first term ang constant.
Very good. Naka-remember ta. I-multiply ang first ug ang last term, I will get 8. Unsay next buhaton after getting 8?
Pangitag factor na ma-answer kay negative 7.
Okay, unsa man ang factors nga minus na ko kay 7.
8 and 1.
8 and 1. O asay i-negative na ko ana class?
Ang 8, sir.
Ang 8 positive si 1. Now, ma-factor ba ning 4x plus 1?
Dili,
No,
sir.
sir.
Dili, bring it down. Next, ma-factor ang 4x minus 8?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
For a while class ha, kay magawas akong pagumangko for a while. Okay, what will be the common factor here for 4x minus 8?
4.
4. And you are left with
X
Minus
x minus 2. That's totally right. All over 4. Cancel out 4. So let's write the factors here. What is our first factor? Katong synthetic ta.
plus 1, sir.
X
plus one.
plus 1. This is based on the synthetics x plus 1. Base atong nag-factoring ta.
4x plus 1.
4x plus 1 and also
X minus 2, sir.
x minus 2. And what are our roots or our zeros?
negative 1.
Negative 1 is 1, okay?
Negative 1.
Negative
Negative 2.
Negative 1/4.
Negative 1/4. Okay, sir. If ever gani, sir, na ay numbers ato ang x, sir, mauna siya denominator sa inyong root. So, get the reciprocal, the opposite of positive 1, negative 1, over 4, which is the coefficient of x there. So, mauna yung technique ha para diretso ta makakuha sa roots. This is, the other root is
Positive 2.
positive 2. There you have it. Those are your roots and your factors. Now, let's have more examples para mas masabtan eh. Let's have more examples for a while. Let's have this example. What are factors of your P which is equal to 10? What are factors of P?
1,
1,
1,
2,
2,
5,
5,
10.
and 10. Let me write that down. 1, 2, 5, and 10. So we have positive negative 1, positive negative 2, positive negative 5, positive negative 10. What about the value of Q?
Positive, negative 1.
positive negative 1.
It's only positive negative 1. So what are the possible roots here?
1 over 1, 2 over 1.
Oh, you give me the answer right away. Simplify your fractions right away. We have
1, 2, 5, 10.
okay.
One.
Now what have you noticed? What have you noticed? What have you noticed now? Kay dapat mangita tag mga ilhanan ani nga, right? Okay, mao di ni siya ang answer nako right away. Katong example number 1 nako. Look at our previous example. Ang roots niya magdepende sa Q. Kini siya awa. Look at this one. Look at the value of Q. It's only 1. And look at the possible roots and the values of P. You have noticed that the values of P are totally the same as the possible roots. That if the value of Q is 1. So right away, if the value of Q is 1, look for factors of your constant term. Those are your possible roots. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
let's
sir.
proceed with our synthetic division. Unsa may ganahan ninyo? Start with positive 1. That's the first thing. Pwede na jud mo mag-una sa 10, pero you're just, I don't know if makachamba mo, chamba-chamba ramang gud ni saya. Pero ako, I usually start with 1, then negative 1, then 2, then negative 2, so on and so forth. Okay? Now, let's do 1. So, coefficients here, that's 1, that's 2,
1, 2, negative 13, 10.
and 10. You tell me what to write, please.
Drop down the first coefficient
Uh,
1.
Then,
Multiply it by 1,
One,
which
sir.
is 1. Add it by
Three.
2, 3. Multiply it by 1, 3. Add it by negative 13, 10, negative 10. Multiply it by 1, negative 10. 10 minus 10 plus negative 10, 0.
okay, we have nakaswerte ta, naswertehan nga ang 1 is a root. So take note, this is already a root. And how do you write this as a factor?
X minus 1.
X minus 1. So take note na natay usa ka factor x minus 1, usa ka root 1. Okay, now let's continue. What are you gonna do with 1, 3, and negative 10?
X squared
X squared
3x
plus
minus
3
plus 3x minus 10.
minus
How do you factor this, by the way? Who can give me the factors?
Positive, negative.
2 and 5, sir.
2 and 5. Correct. Sir, asay i-positive, asay i-negative.
Ang positive kay
Ang
5, sir.
positive kay
Negative.
Very good. Positive si 5, negative si 2 to get a positive 3. So let's write our factors now. What are the factors here?
X minus
X
1
minus 1.
X minus 1 sa synthetic
X plus 5
and X
and
minus
X minus
and X minus 2. There you have. And what are our roots or our zeros?
Positive 1.
Positive 1,
negative 5 and positive 2.
negative 5, and positive 2. There you have it. And just like what I said a while ago, katong atong question awa, naa si 1, check. Naa si negative 5, check. Naa si 2, check. Di jud na mahitabo nga ang answer ninyo dira dili makit-an sa possible roots. Ang answer ninyo sa inyuhang roots or zeros dapat makit-an dinha. Okay? Let's go to our next problem. This one. Let's solve this. Let's get the roots here. So what's the value or what are the factors of P?
1.
O sa may mga values sa P?
Positive, negative 1.
Positive, negative 1 na, sir. Ang Q?
Positive, negative 1.
Sir, positive. So meaning, ang possible di ay nako nga values ani, possible roots, kay unsan naman?
Positive, negative 1.
Sir, positive, negative 1 ra jud siya, sir. So, to start with, sayon ra day kay ni kay duha ray pilianan. Why maglibog ani kay duha ray pilianan. Okay, let's continue. What are the coefficients now?
1, negative
1, negative 4, positive 6, and negative 4, and 1.
And 1. Okay. Let's do synthetic. Bring down 1. Multiply. Combine. Multiply. Combine. Multiply. Combine. Multiply. And we were able to get a 0. So ako lang paspasan ng synthetic. Anyway, you already know the concept of synthetic. Now, what are you gonna do next?
X cube.
X cubed, sir.
But here's the
Minus.
thing. Di ba nag-factoring ta? Did I give a factoring for x cube?
No.
No, I did not, because I gave factoring techniques or methods with quadratic mga squares. So I cannot use factoring here. So dili pa ta mag-factoring. Mao ganing nag-mention ko last meeting na kung tulo na gani kabuk na hibilin, like kini siya, kini, that's the time, like this one. Sorry. That's not it. Here. 1, 2, 3. Well, my sinusitis. Followed by a 0. Then I will convert that. I will convert that to an expression like this. But if in case like you still have 4 numbers, oh my God, my rhinitis, followed by a 0, you continue with synthetic. Again, continue with synthetic. So, asa may synthetic na ko na, sir, kining upat ka numbers nga nahibilin, you do synthetic there. So, meaning, I will continue with 1, -3, 3, and -1. Do not use 0 anymore. Kanang nahibilin din na nga 1, -3, 3, and -1. Gamitan ta ng synthetic. Continue ta. And what will be our value sa A? Let's try the other number now. Manaman ta sa +1. Let's try what number?
Negative
Let's
1.
try -1. And let's do synthetic again. So we have dropped 1. Multiply this to get -1.
1, sir.
Combine -4.
4.
Multiply to get 4. Combine to get 7. Multiply to get -7. You'll get a -8. Therefore, this is not a root. This one is okay. How do you write this as a root, by the way?
X minus 1.
X minus 1. Okay. So, since ang -1 dili pwede, balikan na ko si 1. Okay? Pwede man magbalik-balik sa number 1. Okay? Now, let's continue. So, meaning, kini siya, muna ko i-synthetic. We have 1, -3, 3, and -1. Let's have +1 there. Bring down 1. Multiply, that's 1. This is -2. Multiply, that's -2. This is 1. Multiply, that's 1. And we will get a 0 now. Therefore, this is also a root. And you will write this as x minus 1 as well, right? Now, let's have, how many numbers are left?
3.
Tulo.
3, sir.
No, o diri na ta mag-factoring. Oh, how do you write this as an expression?
X squared minus x minus 2x plus 1.
Very good. X squared minus 2x plus 1. Sir, nga wa ka mag-x cube dira, sir? Ang x cube na adiri ay kini siya. Kini siyang resulta diri mo ni x cube. Nya gisolve na masad na natong x cube, nag-synthetic man ta. Unsa may sunod sa x cube? X squared. Mao nang x squared ta diri. In simple words, kung tulo di kabuk number na hibilin, automatically that is a quadratic expression right away. It's x squared right away, or whatever variable is being used there. Okay? Now let's continue. What are factors of x squared minus 2x plus 1? Minus ba ni class?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
What are factors of 1 when added? It's 2.
1.
1. 1 times 1.
One.
So what are our factors?
X minus 1, sir.
X minus 1. Okay, what else?
X minus 1.
X minus 1 again. Kining X minus 1 nga first sa first synthetic. Ang X minus 1 nga ikaduha sa ikaduha nga synthetic. And what else?
X minus 1, sir.
Duha ka x minus 1 sa atong factoring. Do you get the idea now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And how do you write x minus 1 times x minus 1 times x minus 1 the shorter way?
X minus
X
1.
quantity of raised to 4, sir.
That's totally right. X minus 1 raised to 4. Sir, how do I write my roots or my zeros? So let me ask you this question. How do we write the roots or the zeros now?
Negative 1.
1, sir.
Positive 1.
Positive 1 ra. Maoray botang.
Yes, sir.
And now, in some cases, I'm gonna accept 1. But in some cases, I would like to put an emphasis on the number of factors I have. So, for me to have nga kabaw, okay, kaupat di ay nagbalik-balik ang root nga 1. So, meaning upat kabuk factors. I will now introduce the word multiplicity. I will be using the word multiplicity if there will be repeating factors. Okay? Now, kapila man ibalik-balik ang factor nga x minus 1.
Kaupat.
Oh, I'll be using 1 multiplicity 4. It means that the root nga 1 nagbalik-balik og kaupat. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let's have more examples. Our last example for this afternoon. So we have x raised to 4 plus 5x cubed plus 5x squared minus 5x minus 6. What are possible values of what are factors of p?
Positive negative 1, sir.
Next.
Positive negative 2.
Positive negative 2.
Positive 3. Positive negative 6.
Okay.
Positive negative 3 and positive negative 6, sir.
Okay, for a while. Okay, let's continue. What about q?
Positive negative 1.
Positive negative 1. Now, what are the possible roots here?
Positive negative 1, positive negative 2, positive negative 3, positive negative 6.
Okay, sir, can you see us, sir? Mo ni possible roots, sir. Okay, let's start with what number?
1, sir.
1. May tagswertihon ta ni 1. Let's begin. What are the coefficients?
1, positive 5, 5,
Negative 5, negative 6.
Okay, so let's write down all the coefficients. Let's start with the synthetic. Bring down 1, multiply 1, combine 6, multiply 6, combine 11, multiply 11, combine 6, multiply 6, you will get a 0 there. Oh, naswertihan ta sa positive 1. How do you write positive 1 as a factor?
X minus 1.
X minus 1. Let's continue with, are we gonna have factoring now?
Not yet.
Not yet, because we have 4 numbers there. We still have to continue with synthetic. So 1, 6, 11, and 6. Oh, which number are you gonna do next?
1, sir.
Negative 1. Let's have negative 1. May tagswertiun na sa taning negative 1. Bring down 1. Multiply, that's negative 1. Combine, that's 5. Multiply, that's negative 5. Combine, that's 6. Multiply, that's negative 6. And voila, nakakuha na sa tag 0. How do you write negative 1 as a x plus 1? Correct. Now, let's do factoring. How do you write this as an expression?
X cubed plus 5x plus 6.
X cubed or x squared?
X squared.
X squared
5
plus
6,
5x plus 6. That's totally right. And what will be the sign of your factors?
plus, sir.
Plus, plus. What are factors of 6 when added? It's 5.
1 and 5, sir.
1 times...
1 and...
Sige, go. Saman.
3 and 2, sir.
3 and 2. I'm gonna be using 3 times 2 because 3 times 2 is 6. 3 plus 2 is 5. So, let's write our factors now. What will be our first factor here?
X minus 1,
X
sir.
minus 1. Katong first nato nga synthetic. Sunod.
X plus 1, sir.
X plus 1. Sunod. Katong resulta sa factoring.
X plus 3, sir.
And
X plus 2, sir.
X plus 2. There you have it. And your roots or your zeros are simply
1, negative
1, negative 1, negative 3, and negative 2. Those are your roots or your zeros. Any question